This is going to be a really quick, just kind of to show you around the interface. What are you looking at right there? So you notice over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to start with these. These are your drawing tools. So you notice I made a rectangle here with little rounded corners that's green. Well, I use the rectangle tool to do that. You see the blue circle right here? Well, I used the ellipse tool to make a circle or an ellipse. There's all kinds of tools here. Select and move tool if I want to select something and move it. There's drawing tools. There's the curve tool and the pen tool. So I can click the draw freehand tool and draw very badly. These are your drawing tools. Notice at the top up here when I change tools. So I picked my move tool, and you notice all across here we've got all these settings. Well, these are the settings for the move tool. If I select the rectangle tool, the settings changed because it's no longer settings for moving, it's settings for drawing rectangles. If I select my Bezier pen, you get settings for that. If I choose text, I get a thing for choosing font and font style. And so whatever you pick on your tools to draw or create with, this row right here will change and you will have settings for that. Up above the settings, this row doesn't get used very much. Honestly, most of these, so this is make a new page, open a new page, save something, export it. You may use undo and redo, cut, copy, and paste. These are different zooms. Most of this stuff doesn't really get used here for me anyways because we either have a shortcut for it or I go to my menus at the top. If I want to say something, I go File, Save. I don't think about clicking the little icon right there. Towards the end over here, there are some important ones that we will use. So right now, if I click on this rectangle, it's just a rectangle. Click on the circle, it's a circle. If I want to move both of them together and I want to keep the spacing, then what I can do is I click one, hold shift, click the other one, and this is called the group. So I group them together. All right, now they're one thing and I can move them together. If I want to come back and move where the circle is, then I can click ungroup and it makes two separate objects out of it again. And I can just pick this one and now I can move it separate from the rectangle, or I can move the rectangle separate from the circle. So that one's useful. And if you remember in the first video, these brought up my align and my fill and stroke over here. This top row is snaps. So snaps, not like snap, this is snap to path intersections, snap to corners, snap to edges, snap to nose, whatever. So this is when you're drawing. Let's say if I wanted to draw a line straight down the middle of this box right here. Well, there's a snap right here that says snap to midpoints. So if I click that to turn it on, when I'm drawing and I get close to the midpoint, it'll just kind of jump and stick to the midpoint. So you can turn those on and off depending on what your needs are. Of course, at the top, you've got your menus. We'll go through these more specifically later, but you've got your typical file menu with a new file and save file and all that sort of stuff. And there's a whole bunch of the path one we'll use a bunch, the extension ones we'll use a little bit, but there's all our little menus and we'll talk about those later. Notice on my frame here also I have a ruler that shows me dimensions, may or may not be important. On the right, we chose by clicking on this little thing right here to turn on align and distribute. Line and distribute is great. Let me show you this. So I'm going to click this, actually I'm going to click this circle and then I'm going to hold shift and click the rectangle, so I selected both of them. And notice I have it set, I cannot speak. Notice I set it to relative to last selected. So I'm going to align the centers. Watch this. Boop. They're lined up down the middle. Because I selected the rectangle last, then the blue circle moved to the rectangle. If I had selected the circle last, the rectangle would have moved to the circle. You can do things like align the left edges. So I can make the left sides line up or the right sides line up. You can align it top to bottom, left to right. These are distribute. So if you have like 5 things across and you want each one of them to have the exact same spacing in it, you can select all of them and choose to distribute the centers or left edges or however you want to do that. Let me take my circle over here. The fill and stroke. I gotta move me. Can I move me? I can move me. Oh, sorry, I got seasick. Okay, you can in the fill and stroke menu. Notice when I click on it and I use HSL, that's hue, saturation, light, and alpha, I believe. Lightness and alpha. The hue is the color. So check this out. I can move this little slider right here and watch my blue. So I can pick from all kinds of different colors. So I had a blue one. Let's make it a red one. And then saturation is how much red color do I have. So right now it's at 100%. It's fully red. If I begin to drag color out of it, notice it becomes grayer and grayer. Light is how bright it is. So I can make it a darker red. I can make it all the way to white. And then alpha is the opacity. How see-through is it? So when my alpha is 100, it's not see-through at all. But as I begin to lower the alpha, notice it just fades away until it's nothing. Down here, we have blur, and it's set to 0 naturally or normally. As I increase the blur, it gets blurrier and it kind of spreads out. You can do some, ooh, that is an ugly color combination. But you can do some good stuff with blur, make things blend together. And then opacity pretty much does the exact same thing as the alpha channel. It kind of makes it disappear. So if I want to blend stuff together, I can lower the opacity or not blur. Stop that mouse. Or I can lower the opacity or the alpha channel, one or the other, and it does the same exact thing. Move me back over here. Oop. At the bottom, put the opacity back. At the bottom down here, you have a color picker. So instead of trying to use the hue saturation, lightness, and alpha one, you can just pick a color. It starts with black and white and has various shades of gray, and you can go through and say, now I want it to be blue again. There, it's blue. You can also drag the little slider, and you can see I can get variation. So if I drag it over here to the blues, it's like, I don't like that blue, maybe that blue, nope, that blue, yeah, that blue. All right, and it's each one for each color. You have these like different options, and you can just pick. You notice that whatever color I have active is set down here, and you can see right now it's blue, which doesn't seem important, but if I have lower transparency or it's blending or something, it may be important to know what color you have. So if I click on the rectangle and I want to make it red, boom, it's red. Okay, so there is your basic layout for Inkscape and all the little tools that you can see on the screen that we're going to use. I know this is really simplistic and I really didn't show you how to do anything. It's just real quick, but I wanted you to know where the general layout of everything is.